And joining me right now here on the Mark Moses Show to go over the latest on the Orlando Magic, who made a big move yesterday on Father's Day. This guy does a great job covering the Orlando Magic for Orlando Magic Daily. He's my great friend, Phillip Rossman-Reich. My man, how you doing today?
I am doing good. It's speed up to slow down, and we are going 100 miles an hour right now.
I've known you, I don't know, maybe a decade now, and you've covered the Magic nonstop 365. Were you in shock, or were you expecting them to make a trade or a move? Let's start there.
I mean, obviously they were going to make a trade. It was just a matter of what that trade was going to be and how big that trade was going to be. You know, I think all of us looked at the Magic. You know, look, Jeff Weltman said it during exit interviews. We're going to start making moves with a win now lens. It very much felt like after the Magic kind of ended their season that they were very publicly, and it's very strange for the Magic, very publicly signaling that they're going to do something big, that they were going to be aggressive to make this roster better. And a lot of us maybe pegged them to do something a little more traditional and look at some point guard options, maybe limit their payroll a little bit. Going after Desmond Bane we're pushing all the chips into the center of the table. We're pushing a lot of our chips into the center of the table. And we believe that this is a good time to strike. And not only that, we believe in what we're building and the way that we're building it. The Magic didn't go for a point guard. They went for another kind of big playmaker to help spread that load. But they went for it. And you can't be too upset if you're a Magic fan about a team going for it in this way.
Okay, here's the big question. Explain to us Desmond Bane and what he can do to help the Orlando Magic win games next year.
I mean, what can't he do? I mean, the first place to start is obviously everyone knows the Orlando Magic need shooting. He is a career 41% three-point shooter. He shot 39% last year in a down year. Beyond that, he is a volume three-point shooter. He will put up 6 or 7 three-point attempts per game. Coming into a more secondary role now, you know, playing alongside Paolo and Franz, he's going to get a lot of open threes, but he's not just a spot-up shooter. He will just pull up and take threes. He will take a dribble, pull up, you know, hit, just take a three. He'll shoot a three over a guy and make it. This is a guy who has a reputation to be a little bit streaky, but for the most part, he is going to be good. And assumingly playing with two big offensive engines in Paolo and Franz, he's going to get plenty of those open three-point looks. But obviously the Magic don't just want a spot-up three-point shooter. If they did, they'd stick with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and try that again. They want someone who can attack and create a little bit more off the dribble. With John Morant out in and out of the lineup for the last 2 years, Desmond Bane has really grown as a playmaker and passer. He's averaged more than 5 assists per game in the last 2 years. So the Magic aren't getting a point guard, but they're getting another player who can do point guard things or help kind of, you know, that it's that Moneyball scene. We're not trying to get a point guard. We're trying to find a point guard in the aggregate. Between Paolo, Franz, Jalen Suggs, and Desmond Bane now, they have 4 guys who can do point guard things. And so it's just about who's going to have the ball in their hands that night, who's going to have the ball in their hands on that play, and then trusting that decision-making. Bane is someone who really can do it all. He's been a borderline all-star for the last 2 years. A lot of people consider him one of the top 30, 40 players in the league, which is, you know, saying something. The Magic grabbed one of those guys that will help them make their starting lineup a whole lot better.
All right, I'm going to ask a very obvious question, but I want you to answer for me. So Desmond Bane, how old is he? And then what's his contract situation right now?
So this is like one of the big attractors, because I think a lot of the guys that we were looking at, and even Jeff Weltman said at the trade deadline, they were looking at guys with like expiring deals. This is not that. Desmond Bane is 26. He is very, very young. He is under contract. He signed a 5-year deal last summer. He's under contract for 4 more years. He's at, I believe, $33 million this year. He'll peak over $40 million at the end of this contract. But the Magic grabbed someone that they have cost certainty over and control over, you know, essentially contract control over for the next 4 years. The Magic have signed Franz Wagner to a new extension. Jalen Suggs signed an extension last summer. Paolo Banchero will get his extension this summer. The Magic essentially have locked in their core players for the next 4 or 5 seasons. And so this is the group that the Magic believe are going to help them get over the hump into the second round, to the conference finals, and maybe to the NBA finals one day.
How much did they give up to get this guy?
I mean, undoubtedly they gave up a lot. You're giving up your starting shooting guard in Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. For whatever you want to say about him, he was still a starter quality player as much as he struggled this year. Your big free agent, you gave up really a key piece to your locker room culture in Cole Anthony. And I think if there's one thing that should give fans pause, even though Cole can struggle a little bit on the court and did not play well in the playoffs in the last 2 years, minus the big play he had in Game 6 of the series against Cleveland last year. Cole Anthony is a big piece of this team's culture and a big believer in this team's culture. And so I do think that loss is going to hit hard. The Magic gave up a lot of first-round picks too. They gave up this year's number 16 pick. They gave up next year's pick, which is probably the prized possession because it's a pick swap with Phoenix, whatever pick Phoenix ends up with at the end of the day. That could be very valuable. It could be in the teens. Who knows? And then they gave up their own picks in 2020 and 2028 and 2030, as well as a pick swap in 2029. But the Magic, of course, are betting on themselves and saying, if all goes right, those will be picks in the 20s. Who cares? That's not important to us right now. The Magic gave up a lot to get all this certainty and to get a high quality player, but that's what you got to do if you want to win championships.
It's a great point. I had people text me, wait, what did Dallas get for Luka then? They can't.
Nope. You talk to anybody around the league, anybody who follows transactions. Like I had Keith Smith on my show and we were talking about what could the Magic do this offseason. And we had to stop in the middle and say, look, the Luka trade happened. It was worth what it was worth. That does not count for anything. That was a bad trade. Everyone acknowledges that was a bad trade. It was just beyond the pale how little the Mavericks got for Luka Doncic. But that's, but it exists. Like everyone kind of looks at that exists. That's not how deals are done in the NBA. Like that was just random.
Okay, here's the follow-up then for Phillip Rossman-Reich with Orlando Magic Daily. Do you feel like they could make another move this offseason to help this roster?
I absolutely do, and I expect them to make another move. This roster is not complete. They still need, there are still rumors flying around that the Magic may try and sneak under the luxury tax line to go after Nickeil Alexander-Walker with the MLE. We'll see if that happens. They still have Jonathan Isaac, who's got $15 million to his name, that if the Magic are not convinced that he's going to take a step offensively, and that's his big thing, he could be a really valuable trade piece as someone who is still a potentially elite defender. You might find someone willing to take a chance on him with the way his contract's structured. The Magic obviously still have the 25th pick in the draft, which could still get you a really nice player. I know a lot of Magic fans have been obsessed with Walter Clayton, but there are a lot of really good guards in this draft. The Magic, I think, still need a backup guard. I think they still need to solidify their center position a little bit. They could stick with Goga Bitadze. Goga Bitadze also could be really valuable on the trade market as well. They have Mo Wagner's contract and his situation to consider as well, as far as what they want to bring back. So there's still a lot of work to do. And I don't know if I don't have a sense if the Magic are done, but I do think that their roster is not complete. So there's still some work to do.
All right. Do you make a case though, if you're the front office, hey, we're getting Suggs and Mo Wagner back, and it's kind of like we're getting free agents added to this roster?
Yeah. And like, I know a lot of Magic fans were upset about the team's inactivity at the trade deadline, but I would always tell them, because back in early February, we thought Jalen Suggs was coming back within like a couple weeks. And so I would always tell them, like, look, we know how Jeff Weltman likes to operate. He doesn't like to rattle the boat too much at the trade deadline. Getting Jalen Suggs back is going to be like getting a new player, getting another player into the lineup and into the rotation. That's going to be like your trade deadline acquisition. I think what this move tells us is the Magic truly believe, and whether this is correct or not is fair to debate. I've seen some people question this move, saying this is too all in for a team that hasn't done anything yet. But I think you look at this deal, it's very, very clear the Magic believe if they were healthy, they would have been in the 4-5 race. They would have been just knocking on the door of getting to the next round. And they looked at their roster and said, even when healthy, we're not good enough to compete with Cleveland, with New York, with Boston, with healthy Boston, with Indiana even, although I think Orlando still matches up really well with Indiana. They know to get to the finals, with the door open, as wide open as it is right now in the East, they're going to need a little bit more. And so this was a, shove the chips into the center of the table and say, we are going for it. We're all in on this. We believe in this core. We believe in this group. Let's go make this happen. Let's go make our own future instead of hoping that the door opens for us.
Okay. They're bigger because Bane's 6'6",
6'5", 6'6", yeah.
Okay, so Suggs, in theory, would be your shortest guy at 6'4"
Yep.
out there.
Yep.
So, all right, Cole Anthony was a very big spark plug, 6-man off the bench to get you scoring. Is that Anthony Black now? Who leads that second unit in your eyes?
I think that's the big question. I mean, would the Magic love it to be Anthony Black? Absolutely. They would love that to be Anthony Black. But you know, AB had his ups and downs throughout the season. I do think, to your point, the Magic are gonna need to find another veteran to kind of help steady that bench group. Look, the way things are now, the Magic should be able to play 2 of their 4 big players at all times.
Yeah.
You know, if it's, you know, Paolo is matched with Bane, or Paolo's matched with Suggs, or Suggs and Franz and Paolo, Franz and Bane, 2 of those guys should be on the floor at all times. The Magic can begin to kind of shrink the rotation. They probably only need an 8, maybe a 9-man rotation, then some comfortable kind of end of bench guys to kind of fill out the roster. The Magic should feel like they still need maybe one more scorer off the bench. They certainly need a backup point guard. And like I mentioned, I would target Walter Clayton Jr., Jace Richardson in the draft and say, okay, let's go. We got AB as our backup point guard. He can play alongside a scoring guard like Clayton or Richardson. And we can develop a rookie to be that spark plug scorer that Cole Anthony used to be. Go grab a Nickeil Alexander-Walker. That's an upgrade over Gary Harris. You got Jonathan Isaac, Goga Batadze to man your kind of big spots. That might be enough to get you over the hump. And then, you know, again, when Mo Wagner comes back in December, he's another potential scorer if he's healthy and gets through rehab.
Okay. I had high expectations last year. They didn't meet them.
Nope.
Are they through the roof? Now, with this move, when we get to media day, what are your thoughts going into next season?
I mean, obviously the thoughts going into next season are this is a team that is competing for home court advantage in the Eastern Conference, that is expected to win a playoff series, and is expected to compete with the top of the conference. You know, the point that I made to a few people is, if you look at the Magic's record against teams above 500 the last 2 seasons, they were among the worst records of any team that made the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. Just even the East. Forget the West, which is much better. Just the Eastern Conference. It's not that the Magic don't have nice wins. They beat the Cavs. They beat the Pacers twice. They beat the Knicks. They beat the Celtics. They've beaten these good teams. But to do that consistently, that stat to me showed me, okay, this is a nice team. They got some nice pieces, but they still need a little bit more. The Magic went out and got that little bit more. The expectation should be this team's going to win a playoff series. They're one of the 4 best teams in the East at minimum. They're a team that should threaten to make the conference finals. And then on top of that, financially, the Magic are going to be a first apron team next year. You know, they'll do some kind of cap maneuvers to get under, but they'll be a first apron team next year. They are guaranteed to be a second apron team in 2027. Now, for those that are not familiar with the collective bargaining agreement, these aprons are meant to rein in spending, and they restrict what you can do transactions to improve your roster if you're above these thresholds. The Magic are going to be one of the highest payroll teams in the league in 2 seasons. When Paolo's extension kicks in, and we're expecting, again, if Paolo makes all NBA, his max extension is going to be 30% of the cap. That's expected to be a starting salary of $51 million with 8% raises on top of that year after year. The Magic are already very, very expensive. They're going to be very, very expensive. And you really shouldn't be in the second apron or even flirting with it if you're not competing for a championship. The Magic are clearly kind of saying, you know, look at our books. We believe we're a championship team. And that may not be this year. I think there's always some growth, and this is still a very, very young team. But the Magic are clearly pointing their ship in that direction. And now it's just, are they going to sail to the horizon, or are they going to sail into the storm?
We're with Phillip Rossman-Reich, Orlando Magic Daily, also Locked On Magic. That's how he puts it on the screen there. I like that. No, you're fine, man. It's going to be year 4. Oh, no, it's okay. We're going to go into year 4 Apollo. So when I think of that, it's hard for me to comprehend because I still think of draft night when they took him. Year 4 this fall. It's chips are in, buddy. Don't you feel? All right, this is it. Year 4, year 5 of Franz. This is it, right? Now it's time to compete.
Yeah, no, it's definitely time to be serious. And you know, they've shown, like, the Magic don't do this if they don't believe Paolo and Franz are those dudes. And They showed that throughout last season. You can say a lot of things about the Magic last year. Paolo and Franz carried that team, and they went up against, I know everyone obsesses over Boston's offense and their three-point shooting. Boston is one of the best defensive teams in the league. And yeah, Orlando couldn't score, but that wasn't because Paolo and Franz weren't doing their thing. The fact that Paolo and Franz put dents in the wall, they never broke through, but they put dents in that wall, showed you that, oh, these guys are real. Let's get them the help they need to alleviate their burden, have them fresher for the playoffs. Paolo said it after the series against Cleveland last year that he didn't know how he would have played another 7 games or another series, just how mentally and physically exhausted he was after that Cleveland series. They gotta be ready and still fresh. You see it in the playoffs. It's who's healthiest gets to the end almost. They gotta be fresh for those deep playoff runs. You only do that if you can have Desmond Bane average 18, 19 points per game. So have occasional 30-point nights. Jalen Suggs healthy, sharing that burden, having his occasional 30-point night or 25-point night to give like Franz an easier night where he doesn't have to do as much, or Paolo a night where he doesn't have to do as much. That's the only way you're going to get there. And I think the Magic understood that. And that's, one of the reasons they did this is, we know you're great. We're going to help you be great now.
All right, we'll end with this. I think you were at the jersey unveil symbol, whatever you want to say. I feel like the ghost of Joan Rivers should have been there. We could do fashion police. All right, since you were there, you've been here since day one. What were your thoughts on the new design and everything?
I really love it. I really think they really hit it out of the park. Whenever you have a jersey redesign or a brand redesign, you're always a little bit nervous because you just don't know what they're going to come up with. And I think, first off, I'll say this. I always appreciate when big corporations do something bold and do something different and are willing to try things. And that's why I'm not the biggest fan of that statement edition jersey, the black with the blue shoulders. I get what they're trying to do, and I appreciate that because that's one of my favorite pieces of Magic culture and Magic fashion there is. But I appreciate they went for it. But with kind of your core branding and your core identity, you want something that feels timeless, that feels appreciated and feels accepted. And so the fact that, from everything that I heard and talked to about people who were involved in the process, the fact that they really listened to fans. They turned to the fans and said, what do you want to see? What about our branding works for us? And everyone kind of said, you got to go back to the original logo. You got to go back to the original look, the original pinstripes. We all love that. We've seen, the Magic have kind of been test running this wave of nostalgia over the last several years. They brought back the song. They brought back the old jerseys. They brought back a lot of kind of the old vibes to the building. And not only was the team successful, which helps, everyone ate it up. And so for the Magic to do something where they go back to the original jersey, essentially, give it a little bit of a modern twist. It's not exactly the same, but give the fans exactly what they're looking for. It may not be perfect, but it gives you the warm fuzzies. It gives you all that nostalgic feeling. And frankly, with, something as abstract as Magic, you really only have what you've done successfully to lean on. And so I really think the Magic did a really good job just hitting on what works about their original jersey set, about their original logo, and updating it enough that it's different, but it's exactly the same. And so I think fans are really, really happy about it. And obviously fans have, I think, reacted overwhelmingly positive toward it, which, considering everyone's always a little afraid. Like, everyone's a little bit afraid. What's this going to look like? People didn't love the 2009 jerseys. Like, I kind of didn't, I didn't love the font when they came out, but I was like, okay, they brought the pinstripes in. They're trying it. It's like a mature version of their old jerseys. They kind of got rid of any of that sense and just said, let's just do what works. We know the fans love this. Let's do that. And it's not just fans love it. Everybody loves it. The culture loves it. And so I think the Magic did a good job just kind of tapping into that and making it something new but familiar.
Okay, the only thing I'll say is, it's not against the Magic. This is all NBA jerseys. So you go in the team store, you're like, all right, I'll buy one of these jerseys. How much does it cost for an NBA jersey? Like 100.
I mean,
it's insane, dude.
inflation and tariffs are real. I don't want to get too deep into into those waters, but
Oh man, I know. I completely understand. I always I had these in the 90s. I bet you did as well. The blue ones, the blue
yeah,
shorts with the stars.
yeah.
Yeah, I got to get
I
those.
mean, like, look, I was not a huge fan of the Magic's previous logo that they updated to in 2010, just because it just didn't have any character. Like, it's just Orlando Magic in text with that secondary logo they've had forever, and it was just like it's fine. It's like it's okay. It's the way I wrote it at the time was I think it was like this is the Magic trying to say we've grown up. We're 21 years old. We've grown up. We're adults now. We're serious, and it's just like this thing has no character. There's nothing distinctive about this. Yeah, I get Magic is an abstract concept. That star as the A was everything. It turned a silly notion into something you could call your own. And so bringing back the star and the A was like a bare minimum they had to do, in my opinion. And again, I think they largely pulled it off. There's some tweaks to make here and there, but they largely pulled it off.
All right, what can we check out with your coverage for the latest on the Bane trade?
Yeah, obviously I have my reaction pod is up now on Locked On Magic. You can find that wherever you download podcasts as well as on YouTube. I'm still writing reaction and kind of aftermath stuff on OrlandoMagicDaily.com. I'll be chatting on Monday night for Tuesday on Locked On Magic with the Locked On Grizzlies crew. So we'll get a little bit deeper into the trade and what the Magic are getting in Desmond Bane. And obviously we'll reassess where the Magic go from here this offseason. I have a Cole Anthony tribute post planned, or little bit tribute planned, because again, like I think it is a little underrated how much the Magic might miss Cole Anthony and the vibes that he brings to the team. So we'll get into, there's plenty to get into now. And of course the draft is a week away. So we got that to worry about as well.
I loved Cole Anthony. I always loved talking to him. Yeah, he was awesome.
The man.
Cole's the man. I'm kind of excited for him. I kind of feel like he needs an opportunity to finally maybe play more or be in another situation.
I mean, look, the Magic's offense stinks. And I think and the Magic got to figure out how to make their offense better. And Desmond Bane's going to help. Cole Anthony going to a more spread out, fast-paced offense like Memphis has, I think that's going to help him. And it's not that the Magic were a bad spot for him. He's really good for the Magic. But Memphis is going to be a good spot for him too. It's a good trade for both sides. Let's make that clear. Both sides, I think, got exactly what they wanted out of this.
Oh, whoa, wait. I'm sorry. What was the best band you saw at Rockville? I have to hear it.
Linkin Park, no doubt. Not no doubt. They didn't perform, but Linkin Park was awesome.
Linkin Park played. What time did they get on stage? Because I was there as well. It was
9:30, 9:45, almost 10.
And then they finished. How long did you stay for the whole thing?
I stayed for the whole thing. Yeah, that's the band I was there to see. That's my band.
Was it weird where it wasn't Chester?
A little bit. Because I saw Chester live in 2007. So I've seen Chester live, and I always find it strange going to concerts, especially for concerts that you really know the music for. You're kind of playing the studio version in your head.
Yeah.
And so there's a little bit of that disconnect, but let me say this to anyone who's hating. Emily Armstrong is awesome. She's not Chester. She's not trying to be Chester. I really thought Linkin Park did a really good job keeping the audience involved. I remember Mike Shinoda, the kind of head of Linkin Park now. He said when they first started playing that, Emily's not here to replace Chester. You guys are Chester. She's here to be on stage because we need someone on stage, but you need to scream for Chester too. And I thought she did a really good job engaging the audience. You could kind of still tell she's getting comfortable in the role. She's not quite there yet. She's better live than she is on the album. And so that she's just great stage presence, great voice. She's a great addition to the band. And I don't think anyone's forgetting Chester anytime soon. Chester's one of one. There's no replacing Chester. Emily's doing a really, really good job. And I'm hoping that they continue to make music. It'd be awesome if they keep making music.
I thought they were great. I loved Incubus.
Incubus was fantastic too.
Fantastic. He was. I told our colleague Chase Bunker, Linkin Park is like a Tim Duncan where
Yeah.
they're okay, maybe you'll understand this, maybe you won't. Okay, they're not an all-time amazing, super awesome group, Linkin Park. I love them. They're good. They got great hits, but they're not an all-timer band. But I love Linkin Park.
I kind of disagree on that.
Okay.
If you look, I mean, first off, Hybrid Theory is just an incredible album. Just incredible album. And they really, I think, better than almost any band. And there were a lot of these bands at the time in the late 90s, early 2000s. Better than any band, they melded the kind of this hip hop culture with this rock culture, with this like hard rock culture. And they created something completely new. Like you may not be like this hard rock, go to these rock festivals, mosh pit type guy. But if you like rap, you kind of dig Linkin Park. They just sound different. You could despise rap. You could think like rap's not for me and be one of these moshers in the mosh pits, and you dig Linkin Park. And they meld these things so well. And what I love about Linkin Park too, kind of like with brand designs, they were never afraid to try something different. I know people are divided on 1,000 Suns. 1,000 is my favorite albums. I love listening to that thing. I listen when I listen to that album, I listen to the whole album. Like I listen to it as a concept album, the way it was meant to be listened. I know some people don't like it. It's a little bit more ponderous. It's about these big weighty issues. And then they come back with Hunting Party, which isn't my jam. I'm not the super hard rock guy. Hunting Party, they have something for everybody. And I think that's really, really special for a band of, it's been together now for 25 years. And I think that the fact that they're still selling out stadiums, and it's a little bit of a reunion tour, so I think there's a little bit of nostalgia involved, but the fact that they're still selling out stadiums, they crossed over into pop music. They're Heavy as the Crown is being used for every championship series this side of the sun. They're still making this high quality music. Like to me, the Empty, like From Zero needs work. Like it's very clearly like, okay, we're kind of working off the rust a little bit. The Emptiness Machine is as good as any Linkin Park song that's ever been made. Like that was just like, that's a good lead single. That's classic Linkin Park, like Meteora, Hybrid Theory type stuff. But like they have something for everyone, which I think is a really good thing for a band.
I love your passion in the answer, by the way. I love it. I really do. They have so many hits. You kind of don't think about it at first.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute. They have maybe 10 or 12 hits.
They played an hour-and-a-half set at Rockville.
Yeah.
And I got home and I was like, here are the 5 songs I wish they would have added to the set. And they're all like, there's like, they play, they played The Catalyst. They didn't play Waiting for the End, which they've been kind of moving in and out of their sets. They didn't play, they hit all their big hits. And like, I know all their songs, but I got home and I was like, here are the 5 songs I wish they would have played. They didn't play like, One More Light, which is a really beautiful, touching song, which, really slowed the concert down. And that's kind of like Chester's song. That's like the song that became the Chester Memorial song. But they didn't play a lot of songs. They're just like, oh, that would have been awesome if they played that song. I watched them play the UEFA Champions League final. They did the pregame for the UEFA Champions League final. And I looked in and it was like a quick 7-8 minute set. They combined a lot of songs. They clipped a lot of songs. And I was like, Linkin Park would be perfect for the Super Bowl. Like they have crossover appeal. They have nostalgia. They put on a good stadium show. They got hits for days. Like, they got songs that everybody knows, even if they don't think they know them. They would be a great Super Bowl halftime show. And honestly, wouldn't shock me if that's the news that comes down.
No. The number one band that deserves to be at the Super Bowl, because it's in San Francisco, is Metallica.
I'd be down for that.
They deserve. But I'm just saying.
Well, like they'll go to Arizona. Arizona's where Chester's from. Like go to next to the Super Bowl in Arizona. Linkin Park plays. You do your set. You stop. You do One More Light with Chester singing. On the voice. Like that to me would be a great tribute.
I love. We actually think like we take this very seriously.
No.
Halftime show. We do. That's why I'm like they're Tim Duncan. They consistently hit.
Yeah.
But they'll never be regarded like a Guns N' Roses, even though they have more hits.
There has been, so I actually, there's a book out called, not One Step Closer. It's called, It Starts With One. It's written by a Rolling Stones journalist. I don't have his name. The book is behind me somewhere, so I'm not going to turn around and look for it. It did a really, like, I never really thought of like Linkin Park's place in rock history. And there's certainly a bit of a, Linkin Park's always had to beat the rap that they're overproduced, that, they were kind of built in a lab by some record executive, which they certainly were not. Especially if you hear, like, if you know the story of One Step Closer, that shut up that Chester sings is to the producer, who was just like so exacting and wanted to change everything. And Chester just wanted to shout, "Shut up" at him. And Mike said, "That's a good idea. Just do that."
Yeah,
and everybody loved it. That's what that's part of what One Step Closer is about. But like this book, and I'm overly promoting the book because it was really good. It starts with one really, I think, does a good job placing Linkin Park in rock history, as like, it really kind of says it playing out in like one of the first chapters. Like, if Linkin Park comes 2 years earlier, grunge is still in and nobody pays attention to them. If they come 1 year later, everybody's doing what they're doing and they don't make the dent that they make. So like they're literally like a mixture of perfect timing and being at the right place at the right time, and just having the right sound for for that moment, and really kind of pressing it and finding their groove in the right moment. And I always say this about anything. If you want to know what someone's impact is, or how important someone is, talk to their contemporaries, talk to the people that come up after them. Linkin Park is probably your favorite band's favorite band. Like there's just a lot of people who view Linkin Park as this seminal band that opened their eyes to what rock music could be. And so like, and not only that, they're also just like extremely gracious and wanting to bring people up with them and help people along. And, I do think, Linkin Park gets short shrift in the story of rock and roll. But they're definitely, like, you were at Rockville. Like, how many people were in that pit at Daytona National Speedway? It was 20, 30,000 strong there.
Okay, when Linkin Park goes in the Hall of Fame, they should just play what you just said. That was a best man speech. That was fantastic, Phillip. My man, thank you so much for coming on. I know we went long. I literally texted Phillip, "Can I get you up for 10 minutes?" And now we went half an hour.
Never.
Thanks for your help. Have a great day. All right.
Have a good one, man.